Okay, thank you, Richard, for the introduction. It's my great honor to give a plenary talk at the first East Asia Australasian Flyway Shorebird science meeting. I will talk about shorebirds and the habitats in the Yellow Sea, where I have studied on shorebirds for 20 years. The Yellow Sea, including Bohai Bay in the northwest, is surrounded by Chinese mainland and Korea Peninsula. The Yellow River and the Yangtze River input huge amount of sediment into the sea, which makes the color of the nearshore seawater yellow. This comes the name of the Yellow Sea in China. The superabundant sediments also created the largest tidal wetland in the world, with a total area of more than 10,000 square kilometers, including both spared mudflat and vegetated salt marsh. And also, the tidal wetlands provide habitat for the stopover of millions of migratory shorebirds during their migration along the Flyway. And during the migration season, watching shorebirds has become a traditional festival at some sites in the Yellow Sea. People enjoy the natural scenery of tens of thousands of birds flying in flocks. However, there was a limited knowledge about shorebirds in the Yellow Sea 30 years ago. Thanks Mark Butter for his pioneering work on shorebird surveys for 10 years since mid-1990s. These surveys firstly exhibited the importance of the Yellow Sea for migratory shorebirds. And a big improvement to understand shorebirds in the Yellow Sea comes from the local birdwatchers. In 2005, birdwatchers along China's coast launched a field survey project called China Coastal Waterbird Sensors. Most of the surveyors are local birdwatchers. They conducted waterbird surveys generally once every month. This provided important information for understanding the distribution and the important size of waterbirds along China's coast, including shorebirds in the Yellow Sea. And the surveys were conducted at least 25 sites along the coast, including at least 13 sites in the Yellow Sea region. And until now, 4 reports have been formally published. These surveys have a good skill in species identification and bird counting. As a third party to conduct big bird surveys, the reliability of the results can be granted. Here I will not talk about the exciting findings from surveys because there will be some talks this morning and tomorrow. These talks include Lai Yan from University of East Anglia, Wang Xiaodan from Fudan University this morning, and tomorrow also there are 2 talks from Bai Qingquan from Dandong Forestry and Grassland Bureau, and Li Jing from Small Bone Sandpiper, China. So you're welcome to listen to their talks about shorebirds along China's coast. Here I will talk about the reasons of why there are millions of shorebirds concentrated in the Yellow Sea during migration, or what's the function of the Yellow Sea for migratory shorebirds. According to the studies on shorebird ecology over the past 2 decades, the Yellow Sea supports shorebirds in at least 5 aspects. I will focus on the function of the Yellow Sea for shorebirds during northward migration in spring. The first function is providing refueling sites for migratory birds. Most shorebirds have flown several thousands of kilometers before their arrival at the Yellow Sea, and they will fly again for another several thousands of kilometers after departure from the Yellow Sea. Birds can rapidly deplete a huge amount of fuel and double or near double their body mass within a short stopover period in the Yellow Sea. For example, for the green knot, they can increase their body mass from 120 gram to 250 gram, from very thin to very fat at Yalujiang estuary during their stopover from early April to mid-May. The huge fuel deposition is critical to achieve their long-distance migratory flight. And the second function of the Yellow Sea is used as a temporary stopover site when facing bad weather conditions or for those birds with a weak body condition. It's not uncommon for birds encountering bad weather, such as a strong headwind or rain during migration. Birds can stay at a temporary stop site for a short period, and then they can continue to migrate when the weather improves. After long-distance migration flight, some individuals might run out of energy when they arrive at the Yellow Sea, so a temporary rest site can help them to recover. For example, at Chongming Dongtan in the South Yellow Sea, where I'm staying, shorebirds fly northward in spring. Much more birds can be recorded when wind blows from northwest or north, which is a headwind for the migratory birds. This suggests some individuals can use Chongming Dongtan as a temporary stop site at headwind, but non-stop at Chongming Dongtan at tailwind. In addition, birds captured at headwind were generally heavier than those captured at tailwind. This suggests some lean birds still stop over at the site, even at suitable wind condition. The third function is that birds can adjust migration timing in the Yellow Sea to match their suitable breeding window at breeding ground. Most shorebirds breed at high latitudes with a narrow breeding time window. Arrival at breeding sites too early will encounter cold weather and food shortage, while arrival at breeding site too late will miss the breeding opportunity. Generally, it's difficult for birds to predict the condition at breeding site when birds still stay at a remote non-breeding site. As a consequence, birds' departure from the breeding site according to their internal biological clock. The North Yellow Sea is close to the breeding ground. Thus, the weather conditions there can be used to predict the weather condition at breeding ground. Birds can adjust their migration timing and departure from North Yellow Sea at a suitable time to match the condition at breeding ground. And this slide shows an apple from Greenouch. The departing birds from non-breeding site from northwest Australia can be observed within a broad time window of about 1 month from mid-March to mid-April. The migration timing is still broad in the South Yellow Sea, but the time window of departure from North Yellow Sea largely shortened to less than 10 days in mid-May. This means they adjust their migration timing to match the condition at the breeding ground. And the fourth function of the Yellow Sea is to deposit extra fuel than migration flight requires. This extra fuel can be used after arrival at the breeding site. Because suitable breeding time window is short at high latitude, the extra fuel deposited at stopover site can be used for the activities at a breeding site, thus can decrease time pressure. At Yalujiang estuary, the final pre-breeding stopover site of the Greenouch, according to the energy consumption during migration flight, Greenouch can make a non-stop flight to their breeding site with a body mass of about 212 grams. However, at the departure window in mid-May, 80% of individuals have a body mass of more than 212 grams, and the top 5% of the heaviest birds had a mean body mass of 257 grams. This suggests much more energy deficit at the stopover site, and the energy was carried to the breeding site. And the fifth function of the Yellow Sea is that birds can use the site to mold their breeding plumage during migration. Breeding plumage in high quality can improve the chances of breeding success. In spring, migratory birds can mold breeding plumage at non-breeding sites before migration or at breeding site after migration. However, if birds mold breeding plumage at non-breeding sites, the feather will be worn after long-distance migration. And if birds mold breeding plumage at breeding site, the narrow breeding window as highlighted will impose birds with serious temperature. As a consequence, molting at the stopover site is a good alternative. Many shorebirds are in non-breeding plumage when arrival at the Yellow Sea, while they are in full breeding plumage when departure the Yellow Sea. This suggests habitat with abundant food is critical at stopover site to support rapid deposition of fuel for both migratory flight and for molting. So all these functions indicate that the Yellow Sea is important for the migratory shorebirds during their annual life cycle. As the title of the book written by Jan van Kam, the Yellow Sea make an invisible connection with both breeding sites and non-breeding sites of migratory birds. Unfortunately, tidal wetland, the most important habitat for shorebirds, dramatically decreased in the Yellow Sea over the past several decades. Tidal wetland loss occurred in all the regions in China, in North Korea, and South Korea. Nearly two-thirds of tidal wetlands have disappeared over the past half century. And further analysis on the Yellow Sea region in China also indicated that although the deposition of sediments along the coast have caused an increase of both salt marsh and mudflat, the area of lost due to tidal reclamation was much more than the area of natural increase. Over the past 30 years, the area of coastal wetland decreased by 53%, including nearly two-thirds of decrease in salt marsh and nearly a half decrease in mudflat. A total of 14 national nature reserves have been established along the Yellow Sea coast in China since 1980s. Most of them are established for waterbird conservation. Along with the designation of a new nature reserve, the total number of the nature reserve kept increasing since 1980s. However, the total area decreased. The total area increased before 2005 and then decreased after that. This is mainly due to the boundary adjustment of some nature reserves, which generally remove some regions outside nature reserve. And the total area of the nature reserve in 2015 was only 66% of that in 2006. If the area of low conservation value is removed from the nature reserve and the area of high conservation value is added into the nature reserve, so boundary adjustments will improve conservation. However, the area of tidal wetland, the habitat with the highest conservation value for migratory shorebirds, had a net loss of 32% from 2000 to 2015 inside the nature reserve. This is similar with the 35% loss of a tidal wetland area outside the nature reserve. So as a consequence, the proportion of tidal wetland area inside the nature reserve of the total in the Yellow Sea remained relatively stable from 1990s to 2015. In 2015, the protected tidal wetland inside the nature reserve was about 34% of the total along China's coast in the Yellow Sea. Besides the loss of tidal wetland, the quality of tidal wetland is also varying. A big issue is the rapid spread of the small cordgrass, the Spartina autriflora, an invasive plant along the coast. Spartina is a native to the Atlantic coast of America. It has divided at many regions worldwide, including the Pacific coast of America, England, New Zealand, and a big area in the east coast of China. Spartina was first introduced in China in 1979 for ecological engineering, planted at many sites in 1980s, spread rapidly in 1990s. Spartina adapts the condition of a tidal wetland. They outcompete native plants, including cedar, reed, bulrush, mangrove. It also can grow on bad mud flat due to its tolerance to flooding condition. Currently, Spartina is distributed in large area along China's coast. And the area of Spartina on tidal increased very fast since 1980s. It is estimated that the total area of Spartina was more than 50,000 hectares along China's coast in 2015. And in the Yellow Sea, more than 40,000 hectares of tidal wetland has been covered by the Spartina. The spread of Spartina has largely changed the tidal land condition. Many studies have indicated that Spartina can change the biogeochemical processes, change the topography and the landscape of tidal wetland, cause a loss of plant diversity, loss or change of microbial source and aquatic diversity. All this caused a habitat loss and food decline for birds, and eventually decrease the diversity of both water birds as well as songbirds. To remove smooth cordgrass and re-establish habitat for water birds, a massive wetland restoration project was conducted at Chongming in 2013 with an investment of more than 1.2 billion RMB. This project eliminated Spartina in the north and the northwest region of Chongming and created 2,400 hectares of restored wetland with a mixed landscape of reed marsh, open water, shallow shore, and small islands. This is very different from the landscape and the habitat before the project, when large area of Spartina occurred in the region. The restored wetland attracted a huge amount of water birds, including shorebirds, and some shorebirds such as black-winged stilt, pied avocet, painted plover, and other water birds such as thunder skull and common terns used the restored wetland as breeding site. However, comparing the water bird community in the restored wetland with that in natural tidal wetland indicates that species composition was very different between habitat types. Actually, water bird community in the restored wetland was also different from other artificial wetlands such as the fish pond and farmland in the same season. This suggests the restored wetland provide good habitats for water birds and largely improve the local bird diversity. Meanwhile, conservation of tidal wetland, the critical habitat for birds, is still required. As I mentioned above, tidal wetlands of the Yellow Sea provide refueling sites for migratory shorebirds. Abundant food is a precondition to support the rapid and huge amount of fuel deposition of birds during stopover period. Potamocobbler lavis is a common clam on tidal wetland in the Yellow Sea. This photo was taken at the Yalujiang estuary in the North Yellow Sea 10 years ago. The superabundant clams provides abundant food for shorebirds especially the sandpipers. The sandpipers generally swallow the clam as a whole and break the thin shell easily in their gizzard. At Yaluyan estuary, the potomacopular clam is a major food for the greenouts, which is the dominant and also an endangered shorebird species there. As a study leading by Dr. Jimmy Choi, the clams took more than 95% of their total prey of the greenouts. But unfortunately, with unknown reason, the population of the clam has collapsed in the recent years. After 2013, the clam was seldom recorded on mud flat. It's strange to see the former dominant species on the mud flat nearly disappeared. The decrease of the major prey caused the greenouts change their food composition. According to fecal analysis, in 2011, the small potomacopular clam with a length less than 1 centimeter is the major food for the north. And in 2012, their food was dominated by the larger potomacopular clam with a size larger than 1 centimeter. But in 2016, the snail, a small size snail, became the major food for the birds. And in 2017, greenouts also consume small-sized mactra clam, which were mainly artificial cultured on the mud flat. Although the subsea snail is super abundant on the mud flat, however, it is not a high quality food for the greenout because its shell is very hard. To break the shell of the snail, about 5 times of pressure is required than break the thin shell of the potomacopular clam. Because the greenout swallow their food as a whole, this brought a big problem for the greenouts to break the hard shell of the snail in their gizzard. And consuming the low quality food caused a large decrease of food intake rate. It is estimated that comparing with that in 2011, the food intake rate decreased about 80% in 2016 and 2017, with similar to the volume of maintaining an energy balance. This suggests greenouts are likely adapted fuel rapidly as a traditional refueling size. To mitigate the crisis of food shortage for the endangered greenouts, a feeding project was launched at the site in spring 2018. Thanks for the sponsors of the Sea Foundation, Cora Miranda Naturalists Trust, BirdLife Australian, and Wider Quest, and the administrative support by the Hong Kong Birdwatching Society. The huge support makes the feeding project feasible. Farmed clams were sourced from a deep water subtidal zone in Bohai Bay, where harvesting would not take food away from other shorebirds. Colored flags were inserted at the boundary of a feeding zone on the traditional foraging area of the greenouts in the tidal zone. The living clams were then dispersed at the feeding zone from a boat at the high tide. This is a common method of clam stealing of a local fisherman. Response from the birds was rapid. As soon as the tide dropped, greenouts quickly found the food supply and began feeding. Both greenouts and also some buttertail godwits also fought with greenout. And can I show the video? Oh. Oh. You can find the flag inserted to the boundary of the feeding zone. The huge block of green knot falls as the feeding zone. And you can find another flag. This shows another boundary of the feeding zone. And this video shows the green knot foraging at the feeding zone. The birds can quickly find the food unmodified and can take food at a rapid food intake rate. And the largest number of green knots occurred at the second day since the food was provided. The peak count is more than 13,000 birds at the feeding zone, which is nearly half of the total at the estuary. Along with most of the food had been consumed, bird numbers dropped off until the next delivery. Compared with the control zone of a natural tidal wetland, food intake rate of green knots increased about 4.2 times. This is much higher than the food intake rate that was required to maintain their energy balance, and is similar with the mean food intake rate in 2011, when the natural potomacular clam was superabundant. This suggests green knot can rapidly deposit fuel with the assistance of a feeding project. So this is a successful feeding project, but it is not enough for long-term conservation. The urgent task is to find out the causes of food decline and to restore the natural population of the potomacular clams so as without food service at the site, we cannot find the crisis of food shortage for shorebirds. However, food condition was unknown at many sites in the Yellow Sea. The decreased tidal wetland area due to reclamation causes suggest there are still challenges in conserving shorebirds and the habitat on the Flyway. There are also opportunities. China has strengthened ecological conservation in recent years to achieve the target of eco-civilization. Along the coast, tideland reclamation, the most serious threat to shorebirds, has been stopped, and China has moved to protect coastal wetland for migratory birds. And in 2017, China issued the revised wildlife species, but also highlights the protection of wildlife habitat. This provides a legal basis for the protection of habitat for shorebirds. Shorebird conservation came from last year when the Yellow Sea was recognized as a World Heritage Site. The phase 1 of the World Heritage Site includes 3 sites in Yancheng, while phase 2 will add more in 2023. The National Forestry and Grassland Administration is organizing experts to collect data on potential World Heritage sites in the Yellow Sea. And we also have a good news last week. Nanpu at North Bohai Bay, the largest stopover site for the red knot in the Yellow Sea was designated as a provincial wetland park. This is a big step forward to shorebird conservation. So in summary, there are both challenges and opportunities for shorebird conservation. Improving the conservation requires a cooperation among many parties. This includes the central and the local government make policy and planning, the stakeholders, the domestic and international NGOs, and the public make the conservation practice, measurement, monitoring, assessment, and outreach and education. It is important for the researchers and the conservationists to provide a scientific basis for conservation action and to tell the decision makers how to make the choice among different scenarios. And finally, I will thanks to many people. This including David, Bai Qingquan, Professor Zhang, Tonis, Richard, to help the conservation of shorebirds and also help my work a lot. And also thank bird watchers and volunteers along China's coast. And thanks to nature reserve in the Yellow Sea, especially Chongming Dongtan Nature Reserve, who give very great support for shorebird study and conservation, also provide the opportunity today. So we can have an offline meeting as a reserve. And also thanks for the National Nature Science Foundation for their support. Thank you for your attention. So,
thank you, Dr. Ma, for that insightful demonstration of the value of the Yellow Sea for ecosystem processes as well as shorebirds. It was very insightful, and I really, really learned a lot. I'm impressed. I visited you back in 2007, I think it was, and a lot of this was just starting at the time. And I'm very, very impressed of how far you've come and your group has come.
So,
thank you, Dr. Ma, for that insightful demonstration of the value of the Yellow Sea for ecosystem processes as well as shorebirds. It was very insightful, and I really, really learned a lot. I'm impressed. I visited you back in 2007, I think it was, and a lot of this was just starting at the time. And I'm very, very impressed of how far you've come and your group has come.